I failed to mention that, and it's really not that necessary, but much of the land I've traveled through, it has roots in Apache, Navajo, Acoma, and other tribes. In fact, in Grants, there were a lot of Acoma tribal members. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that just so happens that Charles is part Choctaw. He's a member of the Choctaw tribe. And I don't think that came into play during his trial. I don't know. But I suspect, like other minority groups, that Native Americans are overrepresented in the prison population. Some of the best memories Charles had of his childhood was when he got to spend some time with his grandfather, who was largely Choctaw. And Charles learned to fish and hunt and other activities with his grandfather. And maybe things would have turned out different for him if he'd been able to spend more time with the guy. But that didn't work out. At the base camp, the Oasis base camp yesterday, the Trail Magic, they asked about my hike, and I told them about Charles and the criminal justice system, and they were really knowledgeable for the most part. One had been a social worker in Chicago, one of the volunteers, and he was really on top of a lot of the problems. But what came out and what the general agreement was that this is actually a class problem, that lower classes are victimized and preyed upon by the criminal justice system. And what applies to them doesn't apply to wealthier people. And that's kind of what I've said all along. So it was nice to get some affirmation for what I've been saying. That was rewarding for me, anyhow. So I gave them a card, and they're gonna, at least some of them I think, might follow my YouTube channel and watch what I have to say. Coming up, I'd like to talk about what sort of things could happen to reform our criminal justice system and change it for the better. And boy, is there room for improvement. But that's not for now. Okay. I'm moving along the mesa on to Cuba, or however they say it. These are sandstone formations. And there are plants growing here, sometimes trees. Talk about thin soil. It is beautiful, especially this time in the morning. And my lovely cairns are right there guiding me all along the way. I think it's really interesting hiking in these different geologic formations. The sandstone is actually pretty grippy, so that's nice. Because if it wasn't, and I'm trying to avoid patches of sand, loose sand, because I know that can be treacherous. That is our next obstacle. I was hoping it wasn't, but I don't see any town of Cuba down here. So somehow or other, I think we're going to go up and over that. Well, I wanted to talk about kind of an unusual aspect of through hiking, and it has to do with organization. So as through hikers, we spend a lot of time, typically we spend a lot of time choosing our equipment and purchasing it and getting what suits us. And once you get out on the trail, it's really important to hang on to that stuff. And one way to do that is to be organized and methodical about how you use it. And always double check that you have all your gear. So this morning was pretty blustery. Actually all night my tent was rattling around, but anyhow, I got all packed up and started toward the trail, and then I turned around and looked just one last time to make sure I had everything, and sure enough, there they were, my tent stakes. I almost walked off without them. And when you're out on the trail, we're in remote areas, and it can be days, if not a couple weeks, before you get somewhere that might have replacements for whatever it was that you lost. Gear is really important. And if you're organized, you got a better shot at hanging on to it. Otherwise, you'll leave trail magic for somebody behind you. And actually, they might not need it. It's a field of wild irises. It's gorgeous. This is not what I've been used to in New Mexico. Who would have thought up on the top of San Juan Mountains you'd have something like this? Well, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about reform for our criminal justice system. And the number one cause of wrongful convictions is misconduct. on the part of police, prosecutors, and judges. And the way to end that is to get rid of immunity. Why should they be allowed to knowingly commit misconduct that so profoundly affects somebody's life and then get away with it? That doesn't happen in many other professions, and I would like to hear somebody come up with a justification for allowing cops and prosecutors and judges to put people away for years or life or execute them when they're covering up the truth or altering what juries hear or whatever. They should be held accountable both criminally and civilly. Justice is a weird word. It's kind of touchy-feely, and but I think we should all agree that justice should have a foundation in truth, and that's not happening. So just something to think about. I talked about one case, and I could talk about many, but Tom Coleman in Texas put away some 37 people, some of them for years, and he was a fraud. I encourage you to listen to him talk. Boy, is he smooth. He still contends that he didn't do anything wrong, but he got away with it completely. They canned him for another reason, but it had nothing to do with what he did to those people. People keep asking me why I'm doing a hike for criminal justice. And what is the connection? Well, there probably isn't one. I mean, it's just a way for me to get a little bit of platform and talk about the subject. And like I've said before, if I can pull this off, as audacious as it is, then I'll be able to say, if a 70-year-old can do a calendar year Triple Crown, then the criminal justice system ought to be able to come up with the truth in the case of Charles. And so far they haven't, but you know, at age 70, I've lived my life, so I thought I'd try and do something like this. And in the end, if I've changed, put seeds in the minds of a handful of people, that can grow into something big. And that's all I hope for. I don't have huge expectations. I don't think this is magic or that it makes sense. So yeah, I hear it over and over. Well, what do you expect to accomplish? A whole lot more than if I stayed home playing pickleball and walking the dog and washing the car. I mean, come on, folks. Who said any of it made sense? I didn't. I'm just doing it. and we'll see where it goes. And I've already had enough people talk about the criminal justice system and say they didn't know that. And then there's an element that wants to make it a partisan issue. Unfortunately, it is a political issue to a large extent, but it definitely goes across the aisle. Okay. Beautiful place. Lots of what I think are spruce trees. We're at a really high elevation and we should hit close to 11,000 feet. Is that right? Yep. And let me tell you, you can really tell the thinner air. Holy smokes, any exertion. And I breathe like I normally would. And it doesn't satisfy my body's needs. It's sort of like, come on, take a breath, Fred. I am breathing. It's just not working. The air is too thin. Wow, this looks like a park. This is northern New Mexico. I'm closing in on Ghost Ranch. That's where I'm going to stay tonight, I think. Haven't seen any hikers all day. Saw 3 yesterday. Yeah. This is the Chama River, and I am stopping for lunch right here, and it's a pack off lunch. So next stop will be Ghost Ranch, but that's probably another 10 miles. I have no idea what the hiking will be like. That's part of the adventure. Here come some kayakers. Oh, and paddle boarders. Cool. And there's a dog in that one. I don't know what cottonwood is, but whatever's coming down from this tree sure looks like cotton. This trail to Ghost Ranch has been interesting to say the least. Wow, I'm not sure about this. Looks like they've been working on it. Just keep our fingers crossed. Oh my gosh. Okay. This doesn't have wire under it. Oh, some of these are not good. That was interesting. We made it.